my skin so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Well, well, well. Happy holidays, young people. Merry Christmas. It's Christmas Eve as this drops. And look, I brought in a heavyweight, my old friend from ESPN, now from The Ringer, podcast sensation. He's going on the upswing. He's on the road. He's not in Manhattan Beach. It's Ryen Russillo.
Thank you, Craig. I was thinking about you the other day. Just an unbelievable promotional shot for the Late Show.
Oh yeah, on the iconic Instagram.
I liked it immediately. Didn't even have to think. I was like, am I doing this out of friendship or just preference? And I was like, no, I like this. So just hearts away.
That was in New York City at the Worldwide Pants offices before we moved out to Los Angeles. This is our Christmas and holiday spectacular. Thank you for doing the show, sir. I'm a big fan. I'm wearing my holiday scarf. We do have some holiday questions for you. Before we get to that, first of all, why are you on the East Coast? And I want you to paint a picture for the listeners and the viewers of your Christmas this year, because you live in beautiful Manhattan Beach in California, but you're out in the Boston area, or where are you?
Martha's Vineyard. We went even deeper. Oh yeah, we went deep in it. So, I just got a little sick of the Manhattan Beach Christmas. There's people in California, they don't respect the birth of Jesus. Restaurants are open, Mexican food, takeout, bars are open in the morning. You can shop on Christmas. So look, I love Manhattan Beach, but being a lifelong Northeasterner, the first couple Christmases, I was like, what is wrong with you people?
I've always pictured you as Christmas in Manhattan Beach. Just tell me this is true. Even though you have festivities, it still includes a morning jog on the beach, maybe some squats and lunges on the beach for you.
My big thing is because I was going to watch so much basketball, I had to get some shots up in the morning.
Oh,
so I would go to the park and I'd put in the ear pods. I'd listen to 90s hip hop, maybe late 80s if I was really feeling it. And I would just get shots up. And then one day I saw Lane Kiffin there playing with his kids and they were using their Christmas presents or something. And I had already interviewed him numerous times. I was like, hey, Lane. And he just thought I was bothering him. So we didn't connect on that. But I loved it. I was like, I'm getting shots up. And it was the first Christmas. And then I'm driving through and I'm going, why is everything open? Like I just remember in the Northeast, like if someone called your house, my dad would yell.
Yeah.
Like, not today. Today it's about family and staying inside and suffering.
I am always grateful. Because I grew up in Minnesota, whenever it's sunny out here, which is most of the time, I just say, wow, this is amazing. And one of the points is 74 in LA, which it was a few days ago, 74 in December in LA is different than 74 in June or July in California. I don't know if you know that. Maybe because it's cooler at night and then the 74 comes, but I just adore the weather and I'm always grateful. I've been here for over 20 years and I just never take it for granted. Ryan, that's the kind of person I am. I appreciate the weather.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'll tell you there's very few things I miss. And I'm really happy and I can't ever see not having a place where I'm situated now.
You have an amazing place, ladies and gentlemen. He has an amazing house with an ocean view, Manhattan Beach. It's an enclave of who's who, the Steve Nashes and Mark Cubans of the world, Frank Vogel, Kevin Durant. Everybody's there.
Yeah, Vogel. I mean, that's all you need to know. So I do miss that Saturday morning, though, in October when the Northeast has told you things are about to get real different. And there's this almost burn in your nose, but it's leaves, it's outdoors, it's football. Yeah. It's whether it's high school or college football, Holy Cross games, the Crusaders, There was something about that moment where when you live in the Northeast, and I'm sure it's the same as like Minnesota, but there's just a moment where you're like, it's over. Yeah. It's over. And Vermont used to do it probably in like September, where there would just be this first smell and this
Mhm.
first feeling of, but I liked it. I don't know what
Right.
it was. I liked it. Maybe it was just a football thing, but I miss it.
People love the change of seasons. Autumn in New York, great song. It's just true. It's magical. I think what throws people off, because even the snow on the ground is magical, but not for 3 or 4 straight months. That's when it gets old. But if you can fly in and fly out, because you're only there a week now, you're renting something, you know, so you're not going to get tired of the cold. You're going to be coming back home soon.
Yeah, I'm canceling the streaming service as soon as the rate goes up here. So there's no long-term commitment. I don't think I could ever live here full-time again. Maybe. I
Right.
mean, I guess you should say never, but I mean, look, I was trying to get out of Boston on a Friday before a holiday, traffic, because I'm taking a boat to Martha's Vineyard,
Oh boy.
snowstorm.
Yeah.
So, and then you're like, am I going to make the boat? And then it's snowing constantly in the boat. And you're just going, these are hardy people out there. These
Yeah,
are
yeah.
salt of the earth people. I'm getting soft.
As you know, we both have agile minds and I jump around, but when you said the 90s hip hop, so Craigers did not listen to 90s hip hop. But I just want to say, rap was different back in the day. It was, as Spike Lee used to say, it wasn't gangster rap. It was more uplifting. But what did you think of like Round the Way Girl? Because I kind of liked that stuff. Was that okay? Or are you laughing at me?
No, not at all. I actually appreciate LL Cool J more and more as I get
Okay.
older. And I think
Okay.
when it really kicked, now, first of all, Boomin' System is what we came out to in the layup line in high school. So there's that. That entire album, the entire thing is just banger after banger after banger.
Right.
And it's peak LL, even though he'd had these iconic moments prior to that. I love LL Cool J because he knew immediately what he was all about. And he was like,
Mhm.
I'm deciding to do this and to keep it going this long. And then I remember an ESPYs party not that long ago where I was kind of like LL Cool J is the performer. He went, he went so hard. It was so good. It was so entertaining. And you had some of the Bristol people just unleashed in Los Angeles, LL Cool J. They didn't even know what to do with themselves. So
Right.
I have a massive amount of respect for LL Cool J. As I age, he doesn't age, by the way, but as I
Right.
age, I appreciate him more.
Hey, was Chris Berman there?
I don't know if he was there
What
at
would
that
you say
one.
if he was there?
I see. I can't do the impersonation as well.
You don't even have to do it. Just do the sound. Just do the sound. I heard you do the sound. Yeah.
Van Pelt was so good at his impersonations. Like, he's unbelievable. You need to have him on.
Boom swah.
Yeah, he'd be like, Scotty, you could have been, yeah, Leaves, Bucci, George.
I like
You could have been Bob Lee.
So tell me, as we stay on Christmas for a second, this is dropping, as we like to say.
Are we off rappers? Because I was going to ask you, rapper,
Yeah, go ahead.
Rapper throughout your run through the late night circuit, rapper that you were closest to in your career.
I don't think there was. I wasn't, I don't want to be a downer here or a prude. I wasn't into rap, but let's see. Who did we have on? We had, so, I was really into Dido and Dido did a song, Thank You, with a little Eminem there. And she was cool, but I didn't know, I don't know any rappers. I had Snoop on a lot. Snoop, I guess Ice Cube was great. He was a great guest. He was cool. So those guys I had on as guests, they were kind of like crossover. They were very popular and they did a lot of talk shows and they were, Ice Cube's a big Laker fan. Very nice guy. I remember I ran into him after I interviewed him. I was at a function and he came up to me and he was really cool. Nice guy. But that's about it. I might be missing something there. I was more excited about Simon Le Bon from Duran Duran when they were on. So sorry.
But
I wanted to name I wanted to name something controversial because you're probably not into Duran Duran.
No, but you being into it is enough for me.
Well, I don't even know if I am. I just wanted to say it. I kind of like Duran Duran, but not, Come Undone is my favorite song. So.
I forget where in the Mediterranean I was at one of those beach clubs. And I remember I'm sitting there reading about the Dream Team, I'm having a
Oh, yeah.
cheeseburger.
Yeah.
I'm at this exclusive like Greek beach club. And I'm turning around and like the music just starts going off, right?
Right.
And there's a guy kind of looks a little bit like you, but perhaps older, not as refined. And he had just a Mickey Mouse t-shirt, right? Like a 70s Mickey Mouse shirt, but it wasn't from the 70s. And he was just
Right.
dumping champagne all over these models, and they were dancing to techno and
Wait,
EDM.
they're shooting a video, or it's just
No,
happening in the middle of the day?
it was just a guy. Rosé, they couldn't dump enough rosé out. And so I was watching him, like, you're reading about the dream team eating a cheeseburger. You're totally sober. And like that guy's probably having it, like, it's cool that you're here, but that guy's probably going to have a better day than you are.
Is that was it
like,
Simon Le Bon?
It reminded me of him because then years
Oh.
later, I saw him at the same beach club singing Hungry Like the Wolf. And I'm like, this place just goes off.
Right.
So I can recommend it to you if you want. I love that you knew. You were like, where is this going and how does it connect back to
Yeah,
Duran
I just
Duran?
want to make sure we have a common thread, that there's an ending. No,
Story arc.
by the way, there's a guy, you know, the lead singer of Pet Shop Boys?
Not by name or personally, but I'm aware
I
of
always
the Shop Boys.
Neil Tennant, sorry. So Neil Tennant's on.
Neil Tennant.
Yeah. And he had gone solo, and Alex Sulkin from Family, he's now on Family Guy, the head writer, executive producer. He's on the show with me as a writer, and I finished up early, and I would rarely go down to rehearsal for music, but I said, hey, I'm done early. Let's go down. I like his voice. And he goes, oh yeah, so do I. And he says, go up to him and tell him you love Life in a Northern Town. Like, screw up the name of the song. And he named Life in a Northern Town because Sulkin loves that song. But anyway, we had a lot of fun. Let me bring it back to Christmas because I have a specific question. What will be your Christmas meal? Is that a big deal, the Christmas meal, as opposed to Christmas Eve? Do you have something planned there?
Yeah, I mean, that's topical for this week. I kind of have to do 2 Christmases here. So I think there'll be a Christmas Eve dinner that I'll be in charge of.
Oh.
But for those that don't know, like, you know, dishwasher, prep cook, never made it to the line, but Black Dog Tavern, early 90s. So, at least I understand seasoning enough that I can get through making a meal for, 8 to 10 people if I had to do it.
What are you making? What would you make this week?
You know what I think I make do is, it's probably my number one go-to, is a really nice chicken Milanese, but I adjusted the recipe to my standards a little bit, where I like it because it's light.
You pound that. You pound that.
I pound it out. Yeah, you pound it out, but you got to let it sit after, and then it's really up to you with the arugula, maybe some heirloom tomato in there.
Yeah.
I'm not even afraid of some mozzarella, but again, dietary restrictions, you have to worry about certain people. And then I kind of make my own little white balsamic drip, because I just feel like white balsamic has been vastly overlooked in the culinary arts.
Yeah.
And
more expensive, by the way.
Should be double, because this balsamic run, like the balsamic run, and even Carmela Soprano pointed this out. She was just like, hey, everything's balsamic. She's right. It ruined Italian dressings for salads at restaurants because everybody thought they were being fancy because balsamic sounds better than Italian dressing, but it's just not. The depth of taste is not there. So I like to move off of that and do a white balsamic for this chicken Milanese. It's terrific.
We're not talking 90s hip hop anymore, America. This is cooking and the details and the nuances. What was the best? This is one of those questions where the quick questions from the interviewers. Best gift, Christmas gift you received as a kid, 12 and under. Best Christmas gift Ryen Russillo received.
Probably like the fully loaded GT freestyle BMX bike.
Oh,
I desperately want. This is something I really wanted at the time. Like any kid, I woke up early, way too early, and couldn't sleep, so I was like, let me just get a peek. Let me get a sneak peek and see where it's at. And I didn't see it. And I went back to my room being like, man, and I fell asleep because like now the uncertainty was over. And then I woke up bummed out, a little let down. Don't love that I was that disappointed on a day that's really about celebrating other people, not your own needs. and there it was. They had hidden it behind the tree. They got me, and then I had it, and it had every peg. It had the rotor so that the cables wouldn't cross because of all these tricks I was going to do. I didn't know any tricks. I wasn't that good. I used to just jump it down the driveway off of these brick jumps that my sister made, but it was great. You? What's the best gift?
You see, I got my bike. I was thinking about it. I got my bike for my birthday, so I didn't get it for Christmas. And we had a cool, we had an old and kind of vintage train set that went around the tree with the track with an old transformer. It was ancient and it worked and it was great. And, I don't know what age we were when we started opening the gifts Christmas Eve, as you get maybe in junior high or something. Because when you're a kid, like you say, you can't sleep. So I haven't really thought about, was it the Johnny Sacco robot, if that's what it was called? I don't remember. But this is what I remember. We got some music. We got some albums, but we got really good albums. And this is in the mid 70s. So I'm 14 or so. Songs in the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder. I remember interviewing Dave Grohl and I said, one of the greatest albums of all time, or Desert Island. He goes, yeah, absolutely. Like Songs in the Key of Life. And then another one, do you know Silk Degrees by Boss Gags, or is that before your time?
Little before my time. I mean, I know
Low Down, Lido Shuffle, Georgia.
I know who it is, and if I heard it, I would know. I know who Boss Gags is, but I don't. It's never been a kid home from last call. Hey, throw on some Boss Gags or Russillo.
Right.
It's never been one of those, which I think is the ultimate test for what do you really love? And when you come home and you're younger and somebody's like, hey, throw this in, that's when it's just absolute approval rating.
Just to let people know, I'm slightly older than Ryan, may come as a shock, but that's how life is. So you just said you didn't throw this on. What are your thoughts on Eddie Money?
A real go-to, but again, generationally didn't line up. So I'm just telling you, if somebody threw it on, sort of ironically, but then kind of in
it has to be ironic.
Right,
it's all ironic.
right,
and I mean, the king of both cheesy and comical and dynamic is Barry Manilow. The guy can sing. The songs were great, but you probably will completely laugh at Manilow.
Yeah, Manilow was like the punchline to 80s sitcoms and stuff, which seems kind of, I'm sure he's sitting around one day being like, this is all on me. Like I'm the burden of all of these setup zingers. But yeah, Neil Diamond I remember that was like one of the first high school moments of like maybe a party, somebody's house, the parents were away, and then you start going through the CDs. And then a dude would throw on some Neil Diamond, and then you kind of thought you were kidding around that you didn't really like Cracklin' Rosie, but then you realized you kind of did.
Right.
You never were in your car in the middle of the day going, all right, we're doing 6 or 7 Neil songs, and then we'll figure out the rest. Yeah. So I think that's an awesome category. That was
so good. About a week ago, Alex Sulkin again, he texts me. He's on a flight back from Boston, and he says, guess what I'm watching? And he goes and he shows a picture of the screen. No, he's watching a very Barry Christmas, which is Barry Manilow special. And he said it was, kind of by the numbers, it was okay. And then he did a version on stage of Mandy with the video of him doing Mandy from 1976. And he said it was unbelievable. Anyway, and I've told him the story. I interviewed Barry Manilow. I went backstage to meet him. And he looked up, he goes, you're such a tall boy, which was very funny. And then I did a thing where I said, well, on the air, I'm interviewing. I said, I just love the crescendo and you modulate and you keep going up and you break through the wall. And there's no, I just love, he goes, Craig, you get me. So I had a fun time interviewing the great Barry Manilow.
Do you think that's your greatest talent? Not the boyish charm, not the personality and introduction that could make a mother love you. And I'm not even talking about your own. I just mean it comes over.
A lot of different mothers loved me. Yeah. You're correct.
Right.
In the neighborhood.
Do you think that it's your malleability? Do you think that that's your greatest gift?
I don't deconstruct. But I'm having the time of my life because there are no meetings. I don't have any meetings. It's just me in my club chair posting on Instagram, having a couple podcasts, and traveling a lot. Because Princess Cherry likes the van life. So we go up to wine bars and different places, and we have this van, and we have a lot of freedom. No hotels right now. Anyway, that's a good question. I'm not answering it because I don't know. But
the way you said it has a lot of freedom sounded like Trump.
oh,
Well, I don't know where you're aligned.
the only thing that bothers me, the only thing I'll mention about Trump that bothers me is he doesn't have a monopoly on dancing with his hands. Because sometimes I'm in the car and I might do that. And Princess Cherry, don't do the Trump dance in the car. That's the only thing that really bothers me right now.
You're not workshopping a Trump impersonation, are you?
Don't.
For another term?
No.
Okay.
I'll give you one impression.
I was asking.
I'll give you one impression I do. See, do you ever watch the Jason Bourne series?
I love the Jason Bourne series.
Okay.
I love Matt Damon. Matt Damon.
You're no longer David Webb. You're Jason Bourne. You chose us.
It's Albert Finney. Remember that? You remember his voice was. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that good?
That's so good. I mean, and that guy is such a specific weirdo
Oh my God.
in the movies.
This
is great.
This is the weird thing. I don't do impressions. I can do some. I can do James Mason. He's an old actor. I remember when what's the guy with Goldie Hawn?
Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell. He did a made-for-TV Elvis movie back in, like, I was in junior high or maybe even elementary school. And I'm like, he goes, when my mother died. He did an Elvis impression, so I could do that. And I could do Old Man Ferrari for a little bit. So I could do
give me an Old Man Ferrari for Christmas.
What's that?
Give me an Old Man Ferrari.
I don't know if I can still do it. No, I can't do it right. Christian Bale, Old Man Ferrari. I can't do it. He did it so over the top.
I don't want to be minus Old Man Ferrari, because when you were in your peak, Old Man Ferrari is unbelievable.
David Webb. You're Jason Bourne. You chose us.
Okay. So sometimes it's like I'll record it because on the spot I can't do it as well. Anywho.
Ryen, were you upset that did I go over the top of it there and you were like, we need a second one? Because I tried to lay out, but I was just too excited. It's really good. And it's such a weird I don't remember how I did it, but I did it on my Instagram and it was good. I have to be in the practice for it. So I'm not a professional that way. That's why I have respect for the Frank Caliendos of the world and the Bill Haders. I mean, their guys are pros. We all do. I didn't know you did Chris Berman until today, but before we started recording, you weren't even saying words. You're just going, yeah. But just full transparency, I'm repeating the stuff Van Pelt used to be able to do.
Okay.
Because, and by the way, it was never negative. It was all praise. But Scott's impersonations are incredible. You know the story about Lou Holtz, right?
No.
So I think Neil Everett, because he was out of Hawaii, I think the story goes that they got Van Pelt to pretend he was Lou Holtz calling into a sports talk station, a local station in Hawaii. And he just basically was like, he was doing his Lou Holtz, which Van Pelt's Lou Holtz is the best I've ever heard. And he was telling them that if he were to come back to college football, he would just recruit all Samoans. And that was the whole thing. He just kept saying Samoans with a lisp over and over and over again as Lou Holtz. And I think the station thought it was Lou Holtz, but maybe Neil had set it all up. So look, Scott's impersonations are actually like, if he had decided to want to do that, I don't know if the houses are as nice, but he would have made a living on it.
Old Man Ferrari. I'll give you one more that I used to do. Did you ever
Gary Oldman? I heard you do a pretty good Gary Oldman.
Did you ever see what's the movie with the Liberace one, Behind the Candelabra, with Michael Douglas and Matt Damon? Did you ever see that?
Multiple times.
He comes on stage in Vegas in a white Rolls Royce. He steps out with a long fur coat, and he looks at the audience and he says, "Go ahead, you paid for it. Go ahead, you paid for it." Something like that. I enjoyed that. And ladies and gentlemen, here comes the major shift. The Life Gorgeous listeners and viewers love when I talk Timberwolves and Vikings but it's usually with the John Krasinskis of the world, the local media in Minnesota. To have a national media superstar, do you prefer star or superstar? What do you prefer? National star or superstar?
Superstars.
Superstar.
Yeah, I like superstar.
National superstar Ryen Russillo. We're going to talk Vikings and Timberwolves, and we're going to start because I heard you on one of your podcasts say, I just don't like them. I just don't like Cat. I don't use the word hate on this show, but you have a problem with Cat. Why the strong, visceral dislike of the most talented big man since Dirk Nowitzki?
Well, we can start there. This somehow accepted idea that he's the best shooting big man of all time because he hits spot up threes. Like Kevin Durant.
You want him to yo-yo outside? You said
who's a better shooter?
Is that a criticism? Is that a criticism?
As a length guy who was not afraid to fill it up himself from distance and maybe even a nice little long two, who do you think is a better shooter of the basketball, Kevin Durant or Karl Anthony Towns? Was it better?
I think Kevin Durant's a better shooter than Steph Curry. Probably. I just made that up. But Kevin Durant's unbelievable.
So why is Cat labeled the best shooting big of all time?
Because he is an inch taller than Kevin Durant. No, I don't know.
Is he?
It's self-proclaimed, and he plays center, and Kevin Durant doesn't play center. Maybe that, I don't know.
I know what it is. It's the 3-point overall numbers, and again, he's on fire. He's a terrific 3-point shooter, but when I think of like the best shooter, like Luke Kennard can have a better couple seasons than Steph Curry from three. Right. I remember I got into this argument with somebody else about Kyle Korver because he had a higher 3-point percentage. It's like, hey, we shouldn't be this simple. We can watch the game and say, hey, this guy can go to all these different places and get his shot off in all these different ways, and it's so much more dangerous. And I think he's taller. Like, why? And again, Cat's the one that called him this, and then he's in New York, and was it Fat Joe who was like, he's the most talented offensive center?
I saw that.
Wilt Chamberlain, and you just go like, dude, all right, if he's all of those things, then they should have done more than one playoff run.
Here's a couple things, and we can forget. Obviously, he's a great shooter, but it's great shooter. He's also a great scorer. I don't know if you have seen his left-handed jump hook. It is ridiculous. And this is what the people in Minnesota, some of them are down on Cat. Now they, of course, are apoplectic about the trade, but they wanted him traded because of his idiosyncrasies. His hooking when he drives, he gets these offensive fouls, his whining. Even Chris Finch called it stray voltage when his body's all over the place. He appears now to be more focused and disciplined in New York. He's playing very well. The other thing is, my buddy Dane Moore does a podcast. It was one of those things where we said a few years ago, Dane said, there's no five can really guard him because he's too quick. He has problem when a power forward guards him, a smaller guy. That's when he gets into trouble. And one of his issues is, I would say, is he either shoots the J or does the line drive, freight train drive to the rim. And he doesn't yo-yo. He doesn't take 3 dribbles like Durant and pop or Brandon Ingram and pop. So there is a way to take him out of games, but he's a scorer. This is something I want you to know. I don't think people remember this. KG is the greatest Timberwolf of all time. They're saying currently Cat is second, with Ant going to pass him at some point. People don't remember that KG was sometimes frustrating on offense because people wanted him to post up like Tim Duncan, and he's not built that way. And the way he's built with the narrower hips, he's able to really trap on the perimeter on the double teams and the blitzes. He's such a great defender, but he didn't have the body to post up. So he'd take 15-footer, 17-footers. From day one, Cat shot 54%, and his jump hook down low is automatic. He's a scorer. I know how talented he is. I'm just giving you this. He disappeared last year against Dallas. He was great in Game 7 against Denver. I mean, why do you dislike him? And then I'm going to tell you about the trade, some of the things I'm hearing. Why is it the personality? Well, is it his game or the personality?
It's both. And look, let me be nice first. He comes in, number 1 pick. Minnesota thinks they nail it with Wiggins and Cat. You have something to build on. Wiggins just was not wired that way. Butler was there for 69 games. He was a complete pain in the ass the whole time. Staged that whole thing at the end to work his way out. Same day where he has to sit down with ESPN. I mean, the whole thing was like unbelievably it's just too much drama for a fan base that hasn't had a lot of nice seasons, and the KG thing is hilarious because I like when they were doing this entire returning storyline and the 2 tribute videos and all this stuff, I was like, all right, look, he's pretty good, but like, give me a break. Like, this isn't KG, but there are some similarities. And, KG 0 for 7, his first 7 playoff appearances. They have that Western Conference Finals run. They lose. That team wasn't very good, but it was always weird, like the way KG was talked about. I talked about this in my pod on Friday. It's just, like, think about how things, and I hate the word narrative now because it's just overused. Like, I think the updated definition of narrative should be something that's probably true that you don't like about something you care of. So when KG was like, is this guy actually wired to be a winner? And then you see what happens to him later on. You're like, this guy's the most wired to win games. I would agree with you in Minnesota. I think he always should have shot more. He should have shot more when he was in Boston. You want to talk best big shooting of all time, his touch on that turnaround left baseline. And yet he just wasn't a guy that wanted to take 20 shots and all that kind of stuff. So like, there's a lot of cat stuff. I understand. Even Krasinski reached out to me after he listened to what I said. He goes, through all of the stuff that Minnesota fans have gone through, and he wasn't correcting me. He was just helping me understand it more. He goes, this guy embraced Minnesota the entire time, and he didn't complain, and he didn't want out like all of these other dudes. And so that's a big part of why he was being honored. So I think all of those things are real positives. I could not stand the drives that had no chance, the dumb fouls. And yeah, there was just something about, I just felt like there was just something a little off about him where in a foxhole, in a big spot, were you going to be able to trust him? And with New York, even though he's still this guy in his prime and has certain nights where he lights it up, it's still on these other dudes. He can have an off night and it's not a big deal. In Minnesota, until Ant got there, he couldn't have an off night. So I think it's a better role for him. But like I said at the close of what I had said on Friday was, if I have doubts about a guy and the team makes the Western Conference Finals that trades him, doesn't that confirm that all my doubts are actually based on something real?
Right. By the way, KG had Paul Pierce, who is a clutch shooter, wants the ball at the end. Obviously had Ray Allen. So that was a kind of a perfect marriage. But I do know that Doc Rivers and Paul Pierce said he just changed everything defensively. Once he changed everything defensively, Kevin Garnett. One of my favorite players of all time, obviously. So Jessica Holtz is the agent for Karl Anthony Towns. She also has Devin Booker. She's at CAA. And she was at the game, the cat coming home. And she was seated a couple seats over from A-Rod and Mark Laurie and stared at him the whole time and hates them for trading Cat and didn't think Cat would ever get traded. So this is my understanding. I could be wrong. I don't think, some of the guys in Minnesota defending it say, let Tim Connolly do what he knows what he's doing. He knows how to do this. I think it was an instruction from ownership. We're in the second apron, luxury tax, all those details. I think it was all a business decision, not a team chemistry decision. So I don't know what you know or hear about why he was traded.
I mean, I've heard a bunch of different things, but sometimes I hear from like people I really trust 2 entirely different versions of, the same act. Right. So I don't think I'm wrong on just, hey, this might've been it. Western Conference Finals, nice run, but let's fully hand the keys over to Ant, which I would be in support of. I think Ant did a really good job as a young player, like realizing like he could have made that way tougher on Cat. Because I don't know that anybody's in Cat's role going like, well, wait a minute, I've been here a long time. I was a number 1 pick too. Like all of a sudden I'm just supposed to hand the franchise over to this guy. I think they both deserve a lot of credit for how they kind of handled it. But there's definitely this second apron thing, man, is real. It's basically a hard cap. I also think it's the owners after years of seeing where the player empowerment era went from, hey, I've got a year or 2 left, I want out of here, to guys then before their extension for 4 years had even kicked in, demanding a trade. I mean, Simmons asked for a trade before the 4 years kicked in. Durant asked for a trade out of Brooklyn before the 4 years kicked in. So I think they make it more difficult for these transactions to happen. And now when the player's mad, they just go back to him saying, I cannot do the things that you want. I mean, I may not prefer it in the past, but there's still a path that I had to give into you and give into the power of your agent. Now I'm not legally allowed to do any of those things. So when you brought Rudy in, where Rudy's an acquired taste and the positives are amazing. They're every time you look at some of the stuff that he's great at and how hard he'll screen and how invested he'll be into every single possession. The problem is he can't catch the basketball enough. And there'll be nights offensively where he's just a complete zero and his own teammates don't want to pass him the basketball. Like you just see, you saw it in Utah. You're seeing it again this year. And this isn't anything new. I'd ask you, would you have rather had done the Rudy trade knowing it would cost you Cat if it was all just about finances?
It's a great question. I'm going to tell you something. When we traded for Rudy, I saw the first game at home. I watched it. And this is when people were frustrated with Cat. I'm going to repeat myself. I think he's a little more professional in New York. The spotlight's on him, and I just think he's playing a little more disciplined and in the interviews and everything. Anyway, I think
by the way, just real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Randle wanted revenge last week more than Cat did.
Oh God, yes. And we're going to talk about Randle in a second. But so when I saw the first game and I saw how Rudy altered the whole defense and everything, I said, okay, if you guys want to trade Cat, we can do that now. I just want to hear who we're getting. I just want to know who we're getting. If you guys really want to trade Cat. Now in my dream, because maybe I'm too patient with Cat, he was amazing in the Denver series. He's, in my opinion, a better defensive player than Naz Reid and Julius Randle, even though people criticize his defense. He is a 7-footer. He can block shots.
What he did, the way he battled, Jokic is still going to get his numbers. Is he going to be controller?
It is so weird how he was the best defender on Jokic. Yeah. And Kyle Anderson's a good defender. He couldn't guard Jokic at all. Kyle Anderson strips Ja Morant. I've seen him strip Luka twice. He's a smart, good defender. It was Jokic just destroyed him. It's just weird how that works out. And we also miss Kyle Anderson this year because he's a great passer. So I understand. I think Rudy changes the defense of the team, and that's why I'm the team lost last night. Their offense is just, it's not there yet. Dante DiVincenzo is eventually going to come around, and he had 19 last night. He's good. He's going to be good to go soon. But let's move off of Cat. I want to go into Julius Randle because this is where people are really frustrated. And I want to ask you how this works. He's not fitting in. I know people that loathe his game. Do you like his game, Julius Randle, or not?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Is there any chance, because a lot of these people, the Wolves fans, he's going to be traded by February. Is that true? Is that true? And who are we getting? And who do you want?
Look, if you want to trade somebody, you can. But
right.
I mean, this is a team that thinks they're in a championship window, and through 30 games, this is incredibly disappointing. And it's funny because like when the Cat deal happens, here's somebody who just spent all these minutes talking about like the things I don't like about him. But when New York starts the year without a center, and you have a 5-out option who stretches the floor that puts stress on the other center, and then opens up driving lanes for guys like Brunson, like it makes a lot of sense, even with the 4-year extension kicking in for Cat. And on the other side, like I think I probably got more excited about DiVincenzo because I've watched the Randle show enough. He's an incredibly talented guy. Go through the basketball reference numbers. Every place he goes, he puts up the numbers. The teams never do all that well. He's actually terrific passing big. He can shoot it. He can dribble. Yeah. Like he has all of these things that you would like. And if you really dig into his game, there are so many mistakes that are completely avoidable. Like he's better at the hard things than he is the easy things. It's easy to just find somebody in transition and figure out who you're picking up defensively. It's easy to check somebody on a miss or a shot attempt that's up and just make sure you don't even have to get the rebound. Make sure you get the box out. I have an example for you. Last night's game, like I was looking at how Ant is dealing with double teams and then what happens off of those double teams. And Ant is just getting worked right now.
Big time.
There was a stretch with Phoenix where it was like, hey, what's wrong with Devin Booker this week? You're like, are you watching what's happening to him defensively with Durant and Beal out of the game? Like they should drop the lowest quiz type deal for Booker's stat line without those other two guys. And I think what you're seeing here, and Minnesota, by the way, tried to sell out against Steph because other teams have figured that out as their clutch record was a disaster. I think they went from 5-2 in clutch games to 2-7 in their last 9 until the Minnesota win last night. But when I was watching what was happening off of Ant doubles, and you're like, oh, cool, throw to Jaden McDaniels to dribble and sort of create, or like Rudy's throwing it out to Jaden for a 2-man game, you're like, that's a little dicey. Whereas Steph, who Golden State, I think, is more equipped, they're more aware, they have a better plan of what to do when he's doubled. Rudy and Jaden double Steph on the right side. All right. They're swallowing him up past the 3-point line because Golden State was initiating their action so far away from the hoop to try to get Rudy as far away as possible and then burn the help behind it. So Steph gets, and I promise I'll finish here in a second, but he gets doubled by your two best defensive players. He just simply gets it to that outlet to Jackson Davis at the free throw line. It's that classic like safety valve, have your center go up. Draymond's done it for years. Safety valve off the double. So now we're playing behind the two. It's 4-on-3. Jackson Davis swings it in the corner to Wiggins. Wiggins swings it to Schroeder at the top. And guess who's still on the right side, staying in the play, because that's what Golden State has done better than anybody for the last 10 years of basketball, playing to the end of the shot clock, continuing to move. Steph doesn't even give you a hard cut. He floats from the right side up past kind of like that break area, not at the top of the key. Schroeder swings it to Steph, wide open three. Guess who was on that side defensively, making a decision of whether or not to stay with Gary Payton II on a closeout potentially, or float with Steph. It was Randle. Randle just checked out. He's
not
Steph
good.
Curry.
Yeah.
So there's too many. Randle is an extremely talented player. Maybe there's a market. Maybe there's an injury. Maybe the Lakers get desperate or whatever. But like, look, he's been on enough teams. There's enough people in the front offices. If you watch a Randle game where you only watch him and you watch the things he's doing when he doesn't have the basketball, you're going to be disappointed. And I'm pretty sure guys that do it for a living have already figured that out.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, a lot of fans are clamoring for Naz Reid to start. Naz is okay. The fans love him, but he's a little inconsistent. And what's his face was taking it to him late in the fourth, Kuminga. So I don't know if there's a trade to be made. I hear they're going to trade Michael Porter Jr. from Denver. I have no idea. I just don't know if the Wolves want to admit the Randle thing so quickly. I will say there's a patience I have because we are good on defense. We clicked in.
You figured it out. I mean, you guys are on a tear right now. The defensive numbers the last 10 games, like that was concerning in the beginning of the year. Like, wait, they're going to be bad at defense now too? But no, that seems fine. Yeah,
and they had 15 points, the Wolves, in the first quarter, and then about not quite halfway through the second quarter. I mean, they were shooting 21% at one point in the second quarter for the game. It was awful. So, and my big criticism is I'm not a big fan of the defensive athletes who are learning how to dribble and pass, the Jaden McDaniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I root for them. I love their energy. I like the Wolves turn it over, and I just loathe turnovers, but that's life. I'm a perfectionist. Let me go to Rob Dillingham. Do you have any thoughts on him? Have you seen him yet or not?
I have. I really liked him. You know, he and Reed Shepherd did a really good job, I think, of kind of taking turns at Kentucky because both of them could have argued for having the ball even more.
Right.
And, Reed was generally thought as a better prospect of the two, and it's not like Minnesota had a chance to get in there. Look, I like Tim Conley and Matt Lloyd enough that if I kind of like a prospect and then they make a move to go and get him, I'm like, okay, this reinforces it even more, despite even your favorite GMs getting stuff wrong. But I think based on some of the deficiencies offensively for Minnesota, Conley's not really a threat now. Certainly not with the ball in his hands. Jaden's kind of like up or down. Nas a really nice guy to have coming off the bench. And I think even your Nas Reed point, like maybe all of us, not just Timberwolves fans, even me a little bit too, being like, they can move on from Cat. Because look at that stretch that Nas put together when Cat was out of the lineup. And remember, it was like, hey, there isn't really that much of a drop-off here.
That's maybe what they thought. They said there's not much of a drop-off. Yep.
Hey, I was guilty of it too. Because, again, as a non-Cat guy, I'm like, all right, well, here you go. Although you're right. I mean, Nas against Jokic is going to be different. Because, again, I think Cat deserves a ton of credit for how he played in that series. So what I liked about the Dillingham acquisition was, even though he's the smallest guy out there and there's all these moments where he looks like he's a little overwhelmed, he doesn't care. It's a little Spencer Rattler-ish. Like, Spencer Rattler is a rookie and he's undersized and all this stuff, but I know he's never afraid on third down.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have that to build off of, where I didn't expect to do a Dillingham-Spencer Rattler comparison today. But he's so good on the ball of just kind of getting something on his own that I think that's what Minnesota felt like. we can't get it in free agency, right? We can't afford it with all these restrictions. Our picks, with the way that's working out, we kind of have to maybe get a little bit more aggressive. So when they had made that move for Dillingham, I think it makes a lot of sense because there were times where I felt like they just needed somebody else that was a little more dynamic on the ball, that maybe was on the opposite side of the court to bail out the possession with like 7 seconds left on the shot clock. And I think the best version of him will be able to do that, even though there's going to be some really, really, bumpy moments in his rookie year.
Yeah, he's I was very excited when we drafted him, disappointed with him in Summer League. He did have one good game, his last game in Summer League, but I have been pleasantly surprised with how he's played when he has played. He can obviously yo-yo and cat quick. It changes the dynamic. My thing is, let's play him, and if he's not ready, then pull him back a little bit. But I think the coaching staff thinks he's not quite ready, but they're going to play him a little bit, and the crowd loves him. I just want to see more of him just to see how it works out. And I don't know what kind of player. I think I was told the front office when they drafted him, they said, we hope he's a Nick Van Exel type. And I'm thinking, great. Or Dennis Schroeder. I don't know who's considered better, Dennis Schroeder or Nick Van Exel. I don't know, but they're
Peak Van Exel is better than
yeah.
Dennis, but
right.
But look, Dennis, I mean, he was so good with the Nets, they had to get him out of there.
Yeah.
I think we're trying to lose games here, buddy. And I don't know what ever since the Olympic thing, but look, he's had his moments. He's had some really nice stretches with the Hawks. He's had some good stuff in OKC. That Lakers year was actually pretty good, but I know that's not what the pod's about. Do you want 3 Timberwolves facts to bum you out?
Yeah, I want to see if I can guess them, but let's see. Their schedule is going to get tough. They're on Christmas Day at Dallas. What are go ahead, bum me out.
I did preparation because I knew we were going to go heavy Timberwolves, and I wanted to be prepared.
What a guy.
Well, this also could be me being.
How did you do that when you're practicing the Chris Berman impression? Because I know you worked on that for a good 20 minutes with some hot tea. Yeah. Sorry.
What's Oberman doing on ESPN? What's with the vest? Hey, you doing a vest? You hit the deuce? What's the deuce? It's not even good.
No, the deuce was good. When you said Levy, that was very good. Leaves.
Yeah. Leaves.
There Booch.
It is. Booch. Yeah. George Grand. All right. All right. Minnesota is, as of this morning, the 6th highest rated team in frequency of isolation. It's only 5 teams that are in isolation in the NBA more than Minnesota Timberwolves. They are 26th in points per possession in the NBA in ISO possessions. Those numbers are bad.
Yeah.
They're 22nd in half-court offense, which is a little redundant based on what I just said. And this is the scariest one because even when I loved the whole thing last year, right? Like I was so excited. Minnesota games were easily like a top 3 priority for League Pass. When I loved them, I still was like, I don't know if I love this execution when things get a little tight. They weren't necessarily the best bet for a clutch offense. And I was worried how that would play out in the playoffs. Whatever. Cat makes a few more threes. Maybe they're in the NBA Finals. They are the last rated offense in the NBA to this point of the season in those clutch games. They're like 91 points per 100 possessions. Granted, like your offensive rating is going to go down anyway in those moments, but they're last. That's 29 teams better than them in that number.
So a couple things. I don't know if you know this, but last year with the number 1 defense, the sports talk radio in Minnesota in Talk with the Wolves was offensively, it's still clunky. It's not there offensively. And I think a lot of that's the Rudy spacing and everything. And it's just been tough. And I was sometimes surprised that in some ways we overachieved. I went to the Denver series in Minnesota, games 3 and 4 after we won the first 2 in Denver, and Denver won games 3 and 4. And I just think they're a better team. So I'm still surprised that we won that series. Then they completely exhaled and didn't show up against Dallas. Cat was shooting like 28% in that. And I was like, if he only shot 35%, we would be in the finals. But we've got issues on offense. Ant is not the most fundamentally sound player. He turns it over. Our friend Johnny Athletic, John Krasinski, tweeted last night, when they double team Steph, Golden State knows what to do. When they double team Ant, the Wolves don't know what to do. Then he said something I loved. Neither team is very good. So I don't think the Warriors are good. I don't think Minnesota's good. I don't think the Lakers are good. I don't know if I don't think Sacramento. So everyone says the West is so tough. These are a lot of like 500 teams. They're not clicking for some reason. I don't know.
Oklahoma City is really good. I don't care what
Yes.
happened against Milwaukee.
Yes.
They get the Chet piece back.
Yeah.
They're
Yes.
just really good defensively. They've been off the charts. I do think they could use a third kind of on-ball scorer for them if I want to get greedy about it. Phoenix is tough to look at because when those three guys were playing, they were really good. They did a great job this offseason adding in all these rotation pieces despite their financial restrictions. They figured it out. Front office did a great job of that.
Tyus Jones,
baby. Tyus Jones. So, they're TBD. You could even do that with Denver a little bit because Murray hasn't looked great. I think he's looked better recently. They get Aaron Gordon back. When they don't have Aaron Gordon and he's doing all of his damage in the baseline and he's taking on some of the bigger defensive assignments, I don't know. There's certain teams that I'll say to 30 games in about really going, okay, I think I know exactly who you are. And there's other teams it's like, I don't want to hear about a stat. I don't want to hear. It's like Indiana football. They're getting their asses kicked by Notre Dame. And they're like, well, this is the number one scoring offense. And like, how did that happen? Because they didn't play anybody. They were this good against the run. Okay. Against Purdue, so sorry, a bit of an Indiana jab there the weekend after, but there are just teams in the West where the fully formed version of them I think are far better than the records that we have right now. And whatever it is with this sport, the load management part did not figure it out because the injuries seem to be such a massive part of the early storyline as guys kind of work themselves in. Like, I don't know if this is a deeper issue, but I don't know if it's a training thing, if there's too much specialized training and box jumps and band work and all this stuff. It's like, maybe you just need to get out there and like, just play some ball, like just start playing more off-season basketball because we're this advanced with this training and science and all this stuff, and it hasn't improved.
Why don't they hire Dirk Nowitzki's trainer? Those weird lunges. And
I'd hire him. I want him to come over my place.
Okay. Ryan, we're shifting now to the greatest franchise to never win a Super Bowl, the Minnesota Vikings. Sorry, Buffalo. And one of the things I enjoy about you is, in some ways, you work for me. You watch all the games and all the other teams, so I don't have to. You don't watch Landman. You don't watch Allie Larder and Billy Bob Thornton because you don't have time. How proud are you of Sam Darnold?
I love it because I loved him in that Rose Bowl game against Penn State. And, the quarterback history tells us that nobody knows what they're doing. So now I feel like, despite watching all these college football games, get ready for the draft. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I love Caleb Williams. I'm still not, I'm not. People really seem to be turning on him and don't like him or whatever. I think it's just been a bumpy rookie year and whatever. We'll see. I'm not deterred. Scoot Henderson, I'm starting to get a little worried about. Sam Darnold was one of those guys when he came out that year. I'm thinking like, I might like him better than all these guys because I loved that Rose Bowl game.
Yeah.
And maybe we shouldn't do that. But remember when he started with the Jets, he lights up Detroit. They put up 38 points or something like that. And they're like, hey, the Jets. I remember Greeny the next day, like the Jets quarterback question, like it's finally solved. It's like, nope, now he's going to be on like 5 teams. So I'm so happy for him because every single dude that knows it better than I do, every one of those guys is like best dude ever. And incredible ability. It just never came together. And maybe this is what it is. Maybe some of these guys, I don't know. It sounds ridiculous. Like, hey, we hope this guy will be really good somewhere else in 6 years after we draft him. But it sounds like that's the case.
I love his arm. He makes some really good passes. He throws the deep ball well. He throws this pass that everyone freaks out about. Addison will go 20 yards out to the sideline, and he'll loft it over the front defender somehow. And Addison has to jump up and catch it, does it with JJ. And what I love, I watch, my problem with Kirk was the mobility. It's just not strong in the pocket. This guy can move. I'm sure you saw his crazy scramble when he threw it down to JJ for the touchdown, Justin Jefferson. He can run. He's an athlete. So it's pretty cool, watching him play.
The other thing that's been really fun about this team is defensively, without maybe some of the names that other teams have,
Yeah.
what they've been able to do. And I had Greg Olson from Fox on, who's probably as good as anybody doing it right now in NFL games. I always like asking those guys that call the games, like, you spend all of this time in the pre-production meetings, and you'll hear if you're on it, and maybe that's an industry nerd thing of like, you can kind of tell like what kind of stuff they're sharing with you that is coming from the game plan, that they have to be trusted, that it's not going to be used until after the actual part of it's implemented within the game. Like, who used to be big on that? Like Phil Simms used to always be like, well, they told us at practice on Thursday that they were going to do this, and this is a certain thing. So I love asking the guys, like, when you have access to these coaching staffs, who impresses you the most? And Olson was very specific when he got to the defensive side of the football. And he's like, Flores, his plan, what he wants to do, what he trusts his players to do, how dynamic it is, how different the looks are, how much he'll change it week to week. He is like, he understands it better than I'll ever understand it. He was like blown away by him. And obviously that's played out as a big part of the story too.
We love in Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell, the quarterback whisperer, and we love B-Flow. And we're just concerned that Brian Flores might leave, for a head coaching job. Part of the perspective was he wouldn't go anywhere with his lawsuit still underway, but now it's like, oh, he's going to get offers. So but one of the things, in addition to Brian Flores, is they called it our best free agent class ever. You have Grenard and Blake Cashman and your favorite Van Ginkel. We've got all these guys, Stephen Gilmore. And then of course on the offense, Aaron Jones. So it's pretty exciting. So I'm going to tell you the teams because you've seen them more than I have. I'm going to see Green Bay and Detroit. We're going to finish up with those guys. We're at Seattle today. How do you rank them currently? Lions, Eagles, Packers, Vikings.
Lions, Eagles, Packers, Vikings. Okay. Well, the easiest thing would be like, hey, I think the Lions are the best. Good continuation from last year. But this defensive stuff is so bad. Like I looked at it last week. If you look at the 2 deep, of the 22 players that be on the 2 deep defensively, I think 11 or 12 are now like done. Although 2 may be coming back. But we're looking at like half your depth chart shot on that side of the football. And I think the way Dan Campbell has made some of these even aggressive decisions by his standards, I think he's kind of telling all of us this is how bad our defense is right now. So I don't even want to give the ball back to the other team. So Detroit would normally be the default one there. But I can't do it. I picked Green Bay to win the NFC. Still feel good about it.
When did you do that?
In August.
Oh, wow.
So, but yeah, this division is historically the best division in the history of the NFL since the merger. Like if you look at this many teams being this many games over 500 by like week 12, I think the number was. So maybe, I don't know how to play it at the end of the year, and Chicago's dragging it down a little. It can get lost in all this. Look, Minnesota's not going to be my pick. It's going to be Philadelphia. So I'll go Philadelphia, Detroit, Minnesota, and then Green Bay.
Well, I thought you said Green Bay. You had one.
I picked them, but I'm
you're saying the Vikings are better than Green Bay?
It's such a coin toss, man.
Okay.
I can't get argued. I can't, like, if there was a homeless person, I should say unhoused in a parking lot at 7-Eleven, like, North Hollywood, and he said, hey, I think the Packers are better than the Vikings, I'd go, hey, man, you do you today.
Okay. I didn't know. I just learned unhoused. That's the vacuum I live in.
Must be nice.
Have you ever been to U.S. Bank Stadium?
In Minnesota? No.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't spent a lot of time there.
That's okay.
Was at the airport again. Best airport in the world. I saw your comment the other day. It is world. Let's just say continental United States. Well, better than Maui, though.
Yeah. Speaking of Minnesota, it's time for the Life Gorgeous quiz. We're going to wrap up now. Simple questions, profound insights.
I hope I do well.
Some of my writer buddies struggled with this because they're from Boston and they're East Coast snobs. It's geography. 4 states border Minnesota. Name 3 of the 4.
Let's see. North Dakota, South Dakota.
Whoa, very good. 2 more.
Let's see.
You only need 1 more, but there are 2 more.
Kansas.
Nope.
I only need one more. So if we're going Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Yep.
Yeah.
And directly below is Iowa.
Oh, Iowa. Yeah. Cause I knew it wasn't Nebraska. And then I was thinking but
That was
Kansas
good.
is further south.
That was good. Who wrote the Christmas song, Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire? He's a famous singer. It was written in Bel Air in July. It was a very hot day in July, and he and a partner wrote the Christmas song, Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire. Who wrote
Bing
it?
Crosby.
Nope. You're
Uh,
a little too young. But yeah.
Randy Newman.
I'll give you his nickname, which might not help, and then I'll give you the answer. The Velvet Fog. Mel Torme. You ever heard of him?
Yeah, I've heard
that's
Mel
a
Torme.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your current weight and what's your ideal weight? I just want to see how disciplined you are in December. What's your current weight and what's your ideal weight? And we're trusting you to be honest.
230, 230.
Wow. Is that hard to keep up or what? Is it easy for you? Do you have it down?
It's hard to stay at 230.
Okay.
I could be 220 by the end of the week if I wanted to be.
Okay. And what would you do? Just no carbs and
I don't know, a little more cardio.
okay. Do you eat a lot of red meat?
Once a week.
Okay. Okay. I do less.
That's
I'm
not a
older
lot.
than I do. What's that?
That's not a lot, right? Once a week.
I don't think it's a lot. No, I do less than that. My downfall is I eat a lot of cheese. I like cheese.
Does tartar count?
I think it does. Yeah.
Should ask.
My friend Richie Doyle and his harmonica, he's a friend of mine, is adamant, wanted me to ask you this. And he wants to get in an argument. He believes Eli Manning should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Your thoughts?
No, he should have to wait once.
One year? Okay.
Well, he should have to wait. He should not be a first time in. He will, because the 2 Super Bowls and with every Hall of Fame baseball is very statistics based. Okay. Right. That's fine. The Pro Football Hall of Fame, again, not the NFL, the Pro Football Hall of Fame is about Super Bowls. And if you're a quarterback and you've got 2, it's done. The Pro Basketball Hall of Fame, again, not the NBA, is if you are an official who officiated 8th grade games in Yugoslavia, you're in. So everybody whenever anybody's debating an NBA guy, I just go,
right.
Hey, he's in. He's if the question is, will this guy be a Hall of Famer? Right. It is always yes. Okay. So there's that part of it. But I do think that Eli, because there was never a moment during his career where you were like, he's one of those dudes. And I think whether it's a golf course, a fraternity, or a Hall of Fame, I admire the ones that are difficult to get into.
Yeah, totally agree. I don't even take the Hall. My buddy just brought it up because it means a lot to him, and I thought maybe he had the perspective that you didn't think Eli should be in first ballot. Have you ever talked about Eli before in the Hall of Fame or not?
I think I have talked about it.
I think he listens to you. I think he listens to you.
Well, he probably didn't like my New Zealand rant that the harmonica is the fakest instrument ever.
Oh, he just got it, and he brought it to Rayo's the other night. Anyway.
I played harmonica, so I am allowed to do that.
Oh.
Just have to have a good ear. You figure it out.
Do you have any compassion? I'm coming up with new questions before I get to the last one.
Okay.
Do you have any compassion towards Kirk Cousins?
I feel I didn't like him for a long time. And then I thought the last years of Minnesota, he played his ass off, and I thought he was incredibly tough. And, look, I know he explained the throw against the Giants in the playoff game from a couple of years ago, but when that happened, I just went, I know there's going to be some big numbers. I just think it's a lot like some of these hoopers who get 20 points a game on some of these teams. And then it's like, oh, he's really good. And maybe he is, maybe he isn't. And I think Kirk used to be that for me. I think now physically it's very clear that whatever he was trying to work through this year has been tough. I think the ball's coming out late. And I really like Penix, and it felt like a 2-year deal. So yeah, I'll admit it wasn't my favorite for a long time. I thought the season he had with you guys last year before he got hurt, he played really well and played like
Totally
a top
agree.
two. Yeah.
He can throw the ball. I don't like his mobility. He can throw the ball. What threw everybody off was has always been his contracts, top 15 quarterback, top 5 salary. But and the thing about his salary, I always like to say is he's the way he is, and I'm not going to say boring, but if you had a reality show, do you want to watch him spend money on the weekend or Baker Mayfield? I want to see him spend $1 million on the weekend, not Kirk Cousins. There's not enough of a personality there. He doesn't know how to spend all that money. This is important.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. It took me a while to really work through what you were asking, but who would you rather watch spend $1 million? Baker's definitely, he has a first round grade.
Yeah.
And Kirk is probably like a mid round because it was all going to be smart. He's like, first of all, here's how an ETF works.
Finally, last question. I contend that if Nas Reed was named Joe Reed, he would not be as popular. My question is, true or false, you would not be as popular if you had an average voice.
100% true. 100%.
That is correct. No,
yeah,
it is great. It's so soothing and comfortable to listen to. You put everyone at ease. If you say a stat, then even if you say something wrong, we go, he said it though. It sounded professional.
Yeah. You know what? There's something to that because that was the first thing somebody told me in radio. He goes, we're on this morning show. He goes, the other guy yells whatever he yells. And then the other guy says his thing. He goes, then you just kind of come in and be like, well, the way I see it is, and it's like, and then everybody just believes you.
The voice of God coming down.
The best compliment, honestly, I think the best compliment I've ever received in my life was Dan the Duke Davis, who did updates at ESPN Radio for decades. Flutie did it. He was also on the call for the Flutie toss in 84. And I just started working, and one of my friends was walking on the hallway, and I was talking, and Duke just turned to my friend. He goes, I'm going to swear. Is it okay if I can swear here?
Yeah.
I think I can. Yeah. He goes, he like looked up at the speaker in the hallway. He goes, man, what fucking pipes? And so my friend was like, dude, Dan the Duke Davis thinks you have pipes. But again, I was classically trained, bass 2, Requiem, some Mozart stuff, Get Happy, the show tunes that I'm sure you're going to throw on the old phonograph later. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, sir. Happy holidays. I'll see you. Let's make sure we see each other in the new year. I'll come down with the party van, or the super van, we call it, and we'll have a drink down in Manhattan Beach, since you don't really come up to Hollywood too often.
Could be coming up much more often. But
why is that? A little project? Let's not jinx it.
No, let's not jinx it, but I'll text you. I'll let you know. But yeah, come on down to the beach. We'd love to have you, and I love catching up, man.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That's Ryen Russillo, ladies and gentlemen. That's our show. We'll see you next time. Remember, young people, proud of you.